Not so long ago, the Philippines and China seemed destined for a golden era of friendship. The atmosphere was filled with hope and anticipation, as both nations looked forward to a future of mutual prosperity and cooperation. Leaders from both countries smiled for cameras, promising a new chapter built on trust and investment. There was talk of a partnership that would benefit not just governments but ordinary citizens on both sides. China pledged to build bridges, railways, and ports, signaling a dramatic shift away from the Philippines' long-standing alliance with the United States. These ambitious projects were seen as the foundation for a new era of development, with the promise of jobs, modern infrastructure, and economic growth. President Rodrigo Duterte announced a separation from the U.S., aligning the country closer to China in hopes of rapid modernization. This bold move was hailed by some as visionary, while others worried about the risks of moving away from traditional allies. For a while, Chinese businesses and tourists flooded in, and optimism was high. The streets of Manila buzzed with new energy, and many Filipinos hoped this influx would bring lasting prosperity. But the reality was more complicated. While some sectors thrived, others struggled to adapt. Concerns about local businesses being edged out and the true cost of foreign investment began to surface. The grand infrastructure projects lagged, and a territorial dispute in the South China Sea simmered beneath the surface. Delays and disagreements cast a shadow over the initial excitement, and questions about sovereignty grew louder. The initial warmth began to cool as promises faded and tensions rose. Protests erupted, and the media spotlighted growing unease about the direction of the relationship. What started as a bold pivot soon felt like an uncomfortable squeeze. Filipino officials found themselves caught between competing interests, struggling to balance national pride with economic necessity. The story of this friendship's unraveling is a lesson in how quickly international alliances can shift. In the world of geopolitics, yesterday's friend can become today's rival almost overnight. Today, the Philippines' relationship with China is a cautionary tale about the risks of trading sovereignty for economic promises. The struggles of Filipino fishermen and the voices of protesters serve as reminders of what's at stake. The tides of politics, it turns out, can turn faster than anyone expects. As the Philippines navigates its future, the lessons of this recent past remain more relevant than ever, shaping the nation's choices on the global stage. The lure of Chinese money was irresistible, especially for a nation eager to transform its future and catch up with its neighbors. For a country desperate to modernize, the promise of rapid development was hard to ignore. The Philippines, with its growing population and bustling cities, needed new roads, bridges, and railways to keep pace with the rest of Asia. President Duterte's ambitious Build, Build, Build program required massive funding, and China stepped in with billions of dollars. No questions asked about domestic policies or political controversies. Plans for new railways, gleaming bridges, and modern ports promised to catapult the country into a new era, fueling dreams of prosperity and progress. Unlike Western partners, China didn't tie its loans to human rights or governance reforms. The money came quickly, with few strings attached, making it even more attractive to the Philippine government. This hands-off approach appealed to Duterte, who often bristled at foreign criticism and preferred to chart his own course without outside interference. China's rise as a regional superpower made partnerships seem not just practical but almost inevitable. The balance of power in Asia was shifting, and Manila wanted to be on the winning side. Many believed that strong economic ties could help smooth over political disputes, especially the ongoing tensions in the South China Sea, and open new doors for trade and investment. For a time, the strategy seemed to work. Money flowed in, projects broke ground, and international criticism was largely muted as the country focused on growth. The Philippines hoped to benefit from China's economic boom, while sidestepping the region's most difficult issues, believing it could have the best of both worlds. But the promise of separating economics from politics was always fragile, and tensions simmered beneath the surface. As the years passed, the limits of this approach became clear. Some projects stalled, others failed to deliver the promised benefits, and public frustration began to grow. The so-called Golden Age was built on hope for a better future, for jobs, and for progress. But hope alone is rarely enough to sustain real change. The cracks would soon show, revealing the challenges of relying too heavily on promises and partnerships that were never as simple as they seemed. The first warning sign was the lack of real progress. Most Chinese-funded projects stalled or never broke ground, leaving Filipinos frustrated. High interest loans and requirements to use Chinese contractors raised fears of a debt trap. Stories from other countries like Sri Lanka's lost port fueled anxiety. The promised jobs and prosperity failed to materialize for ordinary people. Instead, Chinese-run businesses and online gambling operations sparked social tensions. Public opinion soured as benefits seemed to flow to a select few. Politicians and military leaders long wary of China began to speak out. The slow pace of projects and rising anger over the South China Sea made the political cost of friendship too high. The foundation of trust crumbled under unmet promises and growing mistrust. The golden age was over before it began. As economic hopes faded, the South China Sea became the main battleground. China's sweeping claims clashed with the Philippines' rights, and Chinese ships harassed Filipino fishermen. Incidents like the ramming of a Filipino boat and water cannon attacks on supply missions sparked outrage. For coastal communities, this was a direct threat to their livelihoods. The new administration under President Marcos Jr. took a tougher stance, vowing not to yield any territory. The government began publicizing every incident, exposing China's actions to the world. Assertive transparency replaced quiet diplomacy. The Philippines rallied public support and international attention. The message was clear. National sovereignty was non-negotiable. The era of silent compromise was over. The political break with China quickly became an economic one. Manila canceled stalled Chinese-funded projects and turned to Japan, South Korea, and development banks for reliable financing. Actual Chinese investment fell far short of promises, while Japanese-backed infrastructure moved forward. The Philippines diversified its partners, reducing dependence on any single country. Trade patterns shifted, with renewed focus on ties to the US, Japan, and Europe. The government promoted the country as a stable destination for Western companies moving supply chains out of China. Public opinion now strongly favors partnerships with democracies. Trust in China has plummeted, making deals with Beijing politically risky. Economic policy now follows the clear preferences of the Filipino people. For ordinary Filipinos, the shift in the country's direction is not just a matter of politics, it's deeply personal, touching their daily lives and shaping their hopes for the future. Fishermen like Roberto and Zambales have long faced daily harassment from Chinese ships in their own waters, risking their safety just to earn a living. But now, with the government taking a firmer stand, they feel a renewed sense of hope and protection, believing that their voices are finally being heard. In the bustling city of Manila, commuters like Maria recall years of empty promises about Chinese-funded subway projects that never materialized. Today, they witness real progress as Japanese-backed construction sites buzz with activity and new stations begin to take shape before their eyes. "We were told Chinese money would fix our problems, but nothing changed," Maria says, remembering the frustration of waiting for improvements that never came. "Now, we trust those who deliver," she adds, as more Filipinos celebrate the opening of new, modern train stations that make daily life easier. Small business owners like David, who works near a shuttered Chinese-run gaming office, recall the social tensions, rising rents, and unease that came with the influx of foreign businesses. Many felt their communities were changing too quickly, and not always for the better. "It feels more like our neighborhood again," David says, as things slowly return to normal and local families reclaim their streets. These stories are not isolated. They echo across the country, from the busy cities to the quiet provinces, as Filipinos share similar experiences and concerns. The shift away from China isn't just a policy change, it's a lived experience, felt in the markets, on the streets, and in the homes of everyday people. Filipinos want leaders who protect their livelihoods, deliver on promises, and defend the nation's dignity. They want to see real results, not just words. The collective voice is clear. Sovereignty and genuine progress matter far more than empty deals or flashy announcements. Social media and opinion polls now amplify this mandate, giving ordinary people a platform to express their hopes and frustrations. The government's new direction is not just a top-down decision. It reflects the will and determination of millions of Filipinos who want a better future. The so-called golden age with China is now remembered as a lesson learned, not a legacy to be cherished. As people look back on promises that fell short, today, Filipinos are charting their own course, confident, united, and determined to shape a future that truly belongs to them. As ties with China cooled, the Philippines turned back to its oldest ally, the United States. The new administration quickly reaffirmed the alliance, expanding military cooperation and granting the U.S. access to more bases. Some of these bases are strategically located near Taiwan and the South China Sea, giving Washington a critical foothold. The U.S. made clear its defense treaty covers Philippine vessels and forces in disputed waters, a strong deterrent to Chinese aggression. This renewed partnership is about more than military might, it's a message of solidarity. Most Filipinos welcome America's return, seeing it as a source of security and balance. The relationship is now framed as a partnership of equals, grounded in shared values. For the U.S., a strong Philippines is key to a free and open Indo-Pacific. The alliance is stronger than it's been in decades. The Philippines is no longer alone. The Philippines' pivot has sent shockwaves through Southeast Asia. Other countries with disputes against China are watching and following suit. Manila's assertive transparency has inspired Vietnam, Malaysia, and Indonesia to strengthen their own defenses and alliances. China's strategy of winning neighbors with money has backfired, pushing Manila closer to Washington. The region is now defined by a web of alliances, not Chinese dominance. The Philippines is part of a coalition: Japan, South Korea, Australia, India, working with the U.S. to uphold international law. This new balance of power is more complex but also more stable. Smaller nations are showing they can stand up to superpowers. The future of the Indo-Pacific will be shaped by cooperation, not coercion. Has China truly lost the Philippines? For now, the answer is yes. The country's political, economic, and military alignment has shifted decisively toward the U.S. and its allies. Public opinion is firmly against Beijing, and the government is more assertive than ever. But China remains a powerful neighbor and major trading partner. The Philippines must balance security ties with the U.S. and economic relations with China. The South China Sea remains the biggest flashpoint, with risks of escalation ever present. The challenge is to deter aggression while keeping dialogue open. The Philippines' story is a lesson alliances, trust, and principle matter more than money alone. Smaller nations can shape their destiny by standing firm and building strong partnerships. The world is watching, hoping this new path leads to peace, not conflict.